Okay, picture this. You walk into a dimly lit room, your palms are sweating, and you're there to negotiate for a single specific port city. It's a high-stakes meeting for sure, but the parameters are clear, right? You know what you're there to do. But then, you walk out of that room with an entire continent.
So how did America actually double its size literally overnight? Well, here is the wildly disturbing truth that kind of gets glossed over in history class. America didn't outsmart anyone. The map of the United States only looks the way it does today because the most ruthless military genius in human history was completely, utterly broken by a mosquito.
Let's rewind a bit to 1802. Napoleon Bonaparte is absolutely terrifying Europe. I mean, the guy is an unstoppable force, a total mastermind of conquest. But while he was busy dominating Europe, his real obsession, his passion project basically, was building this massive French empire over in North America. And that grand dream was about to be completely shattered by a tiny, invisible insect.
Now, you might be thinking the crown jewel of this planned empire was the vast, snow-covered wilderness of the Louisiana Territory. Actually, scratch that. It wasn't at all. The real prize was a sweltering, incredibly valuable island down in the Caribbean called Saint-Domingue, which is what we know today as modern-day Haiti.
See, this place was a literal money-making machine for the French. It was generating just unimaginable wealth. But, and this is a massive but, it was built entirely on the brutal, horrific forced labor of enslaved people who were growing all this sugar and coffee. It was an engine of pure suffering and profit. Right up until the enslaved population did something Napoleon never saw coming. They snapped. They violently revolted, taking their freedom by force and throwing a massive wrench into Napoleon's imperial blueprint.
So Napoleon, who is completely obsessed with total control, sends a massive, elite army across the ocean to just crush the rebellion. But instead of this glorious victory march, his troops walk right into a biological slaughterhouse. Because it wasn't just the fierce, brilliant resistance of the revolutionaries they had to fight, it was yellow fever. It was invisible, it was agonizing, and it was completely unstoppable. Within months, tens of thousands of French soldiers are vomiting black blood and dying in absolute agony.
So, put yourself in Napoleon's shoes for a second. You have conquered entire empires in Europe, but right now, you are watching your absolute best battle-hardened army just rot away in the jungle. His entire grand vision for a new world empire just bled out on a single island. And here is the crazy domino effect. Without the massive wealth generated by Haiti, that giant Louisiana Territory way up in North America, it was suddenly completely useless to him.
Saint-Domingue is lost. The North American Empire is now just a pointless liability. And to make matters worse, a new, unbelievably expensive war with Britain is looming right on the horizon. Napoleon is in sudden, dire need of hard cash to fund his armies back home in Europe. The guy is just desperate.
Meanwhile, an ocean away, the United States is absolutely freaking out. This young nation desperately relies on the Mississippi River just to survive, to move its goods and grow its economy. But the French control the vital exit point, New Orleans. If France decides to shut off that access, the American economy literally chokes to death.
So, President Thomas Jefferson quietly sends two diplomats, James Monroe and Robert Livingston, over to France. Their mission is incredibly simple, and they are given a very strict budget. Basically, here's $10 million, go buy the city of New Orleans. Just the port, nothing else.
Can you imagine being one of those diplomats? You are sweating across the table from a dictator known for literally crushing nations and rewriting borders through sheer force of will. How terrified would you be to walk right into his territory and demand he sell you a piece of his empire?
So they sit down, fully ready to beg. They are bracing for a completely brutal negotiation. But before they can even make their pitch, Napoleon completely flips the script. He doesn't just offer them the city. He bypasses their pitch entirely, looks at them, and just offers the entire Louisiana Territory. We're talking a massive, uncharted wilderness stretching from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to Canada.
And then he drops this number on the table. $15 million. For the entire thing. The stakes just instantly escalated beyond anything these men could have possibly imagined when they first boarded that ship in America. Just to put the sheer insanity of this deal into perspective, that price tag breaks down to roughly 4 cents an acre. 4 cents. It is a legendary bargain, literally a steal of historic proportions, just handing over the future heartland of the United States.
But here is the terrifying reality for these two American diplomats. They do not have permission to do this. They were strictly authorized by Congress and the president to buy one single city.
Taking this massive deal and plunging the US into this level of debt for this insane amount of land is technically illegal, and they have absolutely no way to contact the president. No phones, no internet, no quick text back to Washington to ask, "Hey, can we do this?"
So it's just a ticking clock, a once-in-a-lifetime offer, and a desperate, unpredictable emperor staring them down, just waiting for an answer. Facing all of that, what do you think they actually did in that room?
Well, they panicked. They completely broke the rules, and they signed the papers. They committed to buying an empire right there on the spot, basically praying that Jefferson and Congress would forgive them later because the deal was just too incredibly good to pass up.
In a single stroke of a pen, the United States instantly doubled in size. The America we know today wasn't born out of some brilliant, calculated master plan drawn up by the Founding Fathers. Not at all. It was born out of a defeated emperor's desperate fire sale. It was completely driven by a brutal disease, a violent and successful rebellion by enslaved people, and rogue diplomats making an illegal call under extreme, intense pressure.
It really makes you wonder, right? If that tropical disease hadn't wiped out the French army in Haiti, if Napoleon's iron grip on his New World Empire hadn't been completely broken by an invisible bug, would the United States as we know it even exist today?